Monday, February 24th, 2020, Grafton School District Board of Education meeting to order, and ask that everyone present please rise and pledge allegiance with a flag in the back. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Let's move to the consent agenda items. We have 2 items on the consent agenda. Do I have a motion for approval of the items?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, all those in favor of the motion, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and it passes. Next, the John Long Middle School presentation. Thank you for having us this evening. It's always good to be out and about. Mr. Deering.
Hi, everybody. Hello.
Hello.
So we're going to talk a little bit about John Long here tonight. You're obviously sitting in our wonderful library in our second year of our flexible seating, which was a big debate when at about 4:45 how to set it up for tonight. But I think we successfully got it set up in a way that can accommodate most everybody in the viewing audience. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some things about John Long, but then the real important thing is to hand it over to our 6th, 8th graders here to talk about something that we're going to kick off in just a couple weeks here at John Long. So I wanted to start by sharing our bulletin boards needed some updating this year, so we, as the National Junior Honor Society, went around and we started updating some bulletin boards because they weren't matching. They needed some updates to reflect our students that are here now because we want to have our students and their work displayed. So, you know, they came up with things, and I told them we want to have motivating things, but we also kind of, I know when Woodview presented, they were talking about Kindness Week, so we wanted to make sure we hit some of those things. So you can see here, success is not always what you see. You got the varying carrots, the one that looks flourishing on top underneath the ground, isn't it? That's great. And then add a little sunshine to someone's day, just kind of some of those things to make sure that our kids are reflecting that. This one has be kind, so the kids, they had a month to do this. So it's got the bees, but then on each one of these little flowers is a nice saying. Obviously you can't see it from there, but it'll just say like this one says, say hello to someone. So it's just those things that represent that we want our kids being nice to each other. And then this one, which some of our National Junior Honor Society members up here actually made, there's 2 of these where it's take what you need. So, you know, as we were all nervous kind of before the board meeting, I went to the one that said confidence and I grabbed one. And here's what it told me tonight. Confidence is going after Moby Dick in a rowboat and taking tartar sauce with you. So those are the good things. So if kids are down, you can take that. So that's a really neat activity. A neat thing that our kids can go through. Kindness, peace, hope, patience. Then there's another one. There's 5 other varieties. But some of our members, after practicing our presentation, I said, go grab one. And they ran out and they did. And it lifts you up when you read it. It gives you a little bit of that confidence. So that's a nice uplift to our school of updating our bulletin boards around the school. School-wide goals for 2019-20. You were part of this in the summer, some of this work that we've done. So by the spring of 2020, 55% of 6th, 7th, and 8th graders will meet or exceed their projected rate growth as measured by the MAP. If you recall, we read that article that talked last year, we set it at 50, this year we set it at 55. And then by spring of 2020, 75% of 6th and 7th graders will demonstrate progress towards algebra readiness, while 75% of 8th graders will demonstrate algebra readiness as measured by MAP. And there's those indicators that we picked the scores of, grid scores of 225, 230, and 235. So I just wanted, if you recall this year, we didn't do fall MAP testing, trying to reduce that amount of testing that we're exposing our kids to, give them more classroom instruction time. We did do the winter MAP, progress towards our math goal. Currently we're at 59%, so 79 of 134 6th graders are currently at that 225 RIP mark. In 7th grade, we're at 69.7, so 93 of the 155 students, so doing a nice job there. And in 8th grade, we're at 63.2%, that 235, which is, you know, a stretch goal which we've all agreed upon, and we're working hard to get to there, and we're currently at 63.2, so 91 of 144 students. So off to a solid start. Kids are working hard, teachers are working hard towards that goal. Reading goal, which kind of gives you that. So we took a 1 year's worth of goal from last winter to this year's winter, so 1 year worth of, and you can see some really good numbers right now. So if we represent and duplicate this, that would be a monster year in all 3 grades. In 6th grade, currently 65% of kids met their RIT goal for a year from winter to winter. 7th grade, 63.9, and then in 8th grade, 65%. Now, behind here, you'll see it says new to JLMS, so these were kids that were new students to us in the fall, so we didn't have access to their last winter's growth. So we gave them a fall to winter just as a measurement to see. So in 6th grade, all 10 new students have met their fall to winter projected growth. Isn't a year's worth of growth, but they're new to our building. In 7th grade, 5 of 8, and in 8th grade, 4 of 5 have met that fall to winter. So tracking those new students as well. So they're off to a good start as well in our building. I just want to give you an update on PBIS. Obviously a big part of what we do here at John Long. Tier 1, working for over 400 of our students. Mr. Dimmer continues to make me make these videos. So this year we've had responsibility, which was this one. I think I forgot my pencil in that clip. Then we also had one earlier about respect, so we were giving examples students perform for us, and an example on the referee shirt would have been a student blurted out beforehand, and I said that's a false start of the mouth, and that's a 5-yard penalty, and then I quickly said I don't know how we assess that in the classroom or walk that off. But that's kind of those things to try to make it fun for the kids, but also teach them the expectations here at John Long. For those kids that aren't meeting that, we have Tier 2. And here's some interesting data for Tier 2. Currently we have 23 students, but you will see that of the 23, 22 of the students are boys that are on check-in and check-out. And so we went back a couple years because is that just a this year issue? Is that a constant issue? Last year we had 18 students, 15 boys, 3 girls, and 2 years ago we had 10 students, 8 boys, 2 girls. So it's been consistent where our male population that is struggling the most gets to that higher level of check-in and check-out at a Tier 2 level. But we do have successes. So far this year, of the 23 students, 6 have successfully already graduated off of check-in and check-out and are doing well. But that leads us back to the bottom question. We still have 4% of our total population that what are we doing, that what do we have to do differently? At our last PBIS meeting, our Tier 2 team talked about taking their check-in and check-out sheet, which gives them teachers will rate students on how they did in that class period by giving them a 2, they've met the criteria, 1, they've partially met it, or 0, they haven't met it for that class period and they struggled. Of changing their check-in and check-out sheet to really focus in on what we think we've identified as the specific behavioral, the behavior that's being displayed in class, and how can we reteach that in the class. So now we're talking about, is there a way to have a colleague come in, and we call it whisper coaching, where if they're actively doing the behavior, the best way to reteach is in the moment, and to talk and sit with that student and say, hey, this is what the expected behavior would be at this time. So trying to get creative with how we can help those kids who aren't, check-in, check-out hasn't quite met it. So, but again, interesting data. Obviously, our next step is now really starting to dig down as a team, like, what do we do for our boys who are really struggling at John Long Middle School? And on the counterpart, what do we do for the 99% of the girls who are meeting the expectations? How do we reward them? Things we've done this year for check-in, check-out. We have a partnership with Dairy Queen. They've given us rewards, Marcus Theater cards, so all those pieces that we built in. And we have some bigger prizes where we also have, something else we did this year was we also recognized full classes during incentive time. Go on and recognize the whole class, and everybody got rewarded in that class. So PBIS is doing a great job, and we're meeting, as it's meeting most of our population. In front of you, I have one of these. You'll see the top part of this. I just referenced it. A big focus this year was talking about our writing, and we talked about this, our text-dependent analysis. We prepare for the forward exam, which is coming up in April. At the beginning of the year, I just wanted to share, we talked about this a couple of times, and these are just, I wanted you to see the work that our staff did do together. So this was that common proficiency scale that I talked about, that our teachers 6 through 8 have it. No matter what you taught, you have a common proficiency scale, using the same language, able to assess the same way, and create that uniform language for our students to help them reach to the next level to be successful. So I just wanted you to see kind of that work. I know I've talked about it, but you actually have it physically. What he says proficiency scale, what does that mean? And the best part about this is the student wouldn't necessarily get all of this. They would get the top portion so that they get the feedback in there for them. The bottom is just to kind of help teachers so they have that as a resource while they're going through and assessing the papers. In saying that, we wanted to kick something off a little bit different at John Long. We know that writing is something We have many reading interventions, we have math intervention programs, but what do we do for our struggling writers? And what a better way to use and help our students is by using the power of our own students. So I'm going to have the students come on up here by me at this time, and they're going to talk to you about the Writing Center, which is going to be kicked off for the first time ever at John Long on March 2nd. And this will be, and they'll tell you all about it. I don't want to steal any of their thunder. They're going to introduce themselves. They have practice. If you need to reread your confidence slip, make sure you do that before you come. And I'm handing it over to Brogan.
Hi, so I'm Brogan Ringgold, and I participate in the school musicals. I'm in National Junior Honor Society, and I'm also a part of Student Council. So the Writing Center is a resource for all John Long students to get help with the papers they are writing in class by peers instead of teachers, because some might not be comfortable with getting advice from teachers as they might be from peers. So we meet Mondays and Fridays during SOAR in our Falcon's Nest, which will be transformed into a writing atmosphere by the Fab Lab, who is collaborating with Mrs. Minty on creating that atmosphere. And so there are the 6 of us, and then 2 more 8th graders, 8 more 7th graders, and we are split into 4 teams that rotate throughout the duration of the rest of the year when we hold the Writing Center. Now on to Judy.
Hi, my name is Judy John, and I'm involved in NGHS and school volleyball, and today I'll be talking about our mission and motto. So the Writing Center is a place where students 6th through 8th grade can come, and it can be a more comfortable environment for them because many students don't feel comfortable talking to their teacher about help they need on their writing pieces, which is why this can be a more friendly environment for them. And our mission statement comes from ideas about peer coaching. So the Writing Center is a place where writers meet with other writers in order to develop ideas, organize those ideas, and express those ideas better. The Writing Center is a place where all JLMS students are welcomed, encouraged, and motivated to improve as writers in all subject areas. As writers ourselves, we understand that writing is difficult, so we provide respectful one-on-one peer coaching with the goal of moving students towards independence in all areas of writing. And now, our motto is their best, not the best. What we writing coaches try to do is improve their writing, not perfect it, because we are trying to help them create better writing and help them become better writers too. And the students who we work with, we push them to edit their own papers, not just give it to us to fix, because we are trying to create better writers too. And now Zaima.
Hi, my name is Zaima Alam, and I participate in Forensics, NJHS, and Student Council. So I'm going to be talking about why I decided to become a writing coach. So there are a lot of reasons why I decided to join this, and one of the reasons why is to help create a comfortable environment for my peers. A lot of times students feel intimidated to talk to teachers, and they feel like they can't express their needs for their writing, and I feel like this could be a place to help them, talk to their peers, and it won't be as daunting to them. And another reason why I decided to become a writing coach is to help provide advice for them to grow as writers. It's not like we'll be sitting there editing their papers. It'll be more of I can use my own knowledge of writing to help them improve as writers. Another reason why I became a writing coach is because I myself have a passion for writing, and I think this is a good step for me, both to demonstrate my leadership and to help others with my own knowledge and to solidify my own skills. The last reason why I became a writing coach is to help give students individualized attention, because some students might not be meeting class requirements, and others might want to go above and beyond their class, so I want to cater to their specific needs. And here is Piper Flag.
Hi, my name is Piper Flake. Here at John Long, I participate in many activities such as NGHS, forensics, and a lot of the John Long choirs. So I'd like to talk about our training sessions we had. So to become trained, we hosted, or Miss Minty actually hosted some sessions that we trained, and we trained Wednesdays and Thursdays during lunch. Miss Minty is one of our advisors. So we use many methods to learn how to become one of our writing coaches. One of the methods we use is practicing on each other's writing. So a couple weeks ago, during one of our sessions, we all brought in a piece of our writing, and we worked with another coach, and we practiced a coaching session as if we were coaching one of our peers and giving feedback So we had that experience when we start next week to coach our peers. You guys all have a packet. I think it says like it's the writing coach packet. All of us as writing coaches, we all receive this packet, and on pages 4 and 5 are one of the most important pages that we have because it is the outline of each session we're going to have with one of our peers. In that session, there is an important method we learned called the sandwich method. This method basically gives a student praise, then feedback, and then praise. This is very important because it gives a student confidence in their work and gives them things that they're very good at, but also gives them feedback so they can improve in the future. So this outline you see on these pages will be used in every single meeting with one of the peers that we have. So now on to Natalie.
Hi, I'm Natalie Manuel. I participate in NJHS and many of the school athletics. I'll be talking about how JLMS has helped me become a better writer. So in 6th grade, I researched Malala and women's rights, and that really helped me research effectively. And then going into 7th grade, I learned how to find reliable sources and help to cite those sources with the World Issues Fair. And in 8th grade, there was a feature article we had to write, and that really helped me expand my knowledge on grammar and sentence variety. Teachers have helped me to think outside of the box, but peer work and peer editing have helped me the most. With peers, I feel more comfortable because they are doing the same thing as me, and I am helping them, and they're also helping me, so I feel like I can talk to them more about things I want to work on in my paper.
Hi, my name is Hayley Markov. I'm a part of NJHS, Student Council, Yearbook, and some of the athletics John Long has to offer. What I'm most looking forward to being a writing coach is being able to help give back to other writers in the JLMS community, because I know when I started out here in 6th grade, I had some trouble with my writing pieces. I was struggling a little bit maybe with adding detail or maybe my paragraph structure. I'm really excited on improving my own skills as a writer because I'll be exposed to other writers' pieces, and that'll really help me to form new ideas of my own as well as get to know my fellow peers. It'll be exciting to help my peers challenge themselves by offering advice on what they could do to take their piece to the next level. This could be as simple as adding a few commas, or maybe making a more complex story structure, or adding some details to their characters. It's really exciting to show students the new ways that they can improve, and it'll also help a lot with students who might not feel comfortable approaching their teachers, because I know that that was a struggle for me because I wasn't always as confident as I am right now.
Any questions?
So yeah, you can see why I had them present, because they're way better than I am. And I'm going to now use them whenever I have to write anything from Mr. Nelson. Any questions for our Writing Center coaches?
So how often do you find that your coaching makes you a better writer? Do you ever come across a time where you're coaching and you're like, oh, that's something new for me to take away?
Well, sometimes I see people have some really complex storylines, and sometimes it gives me ideas for if they use a specific word, or if they have their character do a specific thing that I think conveys the story in a new way, I might use that in my piece.
Yeah.
How did you volunteer? How did you get selected, or?
Our ELA teachers chose us.
Okay.
Yeah.
They tabbed you and said, Brogan, you're going to do this, and you said, okay.
Well, we
What happened?
Yeah, from Mrs. Minty,
Okay.
and it kind of said how we were selected by our ELA teachers.
Sure.
And then there was an application to fill out if you wanted to do it.
Oh.
And then maybe a week later we got if we got it or not.
Cool.
Mrs. Minty is here as well.
So you're giving up some of your own sore time then to do this, to help other people.
Yep, so on those Mondays and Fridays,
Yep.
where you can be requested by teachers, now teachers will have the ability to say, I need you to go work on this piece of writing in the writing center.
Nice.
So a really cool opportunity.
will all of you be at the Writing Center both Mondays and Fridays? How does this?
So there's 4 teams of 4 of us, so there's 16 of us in total, and so we're all split up into 4 teams of 4. So team 1 will go on Monday, and then team 2 will go on Friday. The next week there'll be team 3 will go on Monday, and then team 4 would go on that next Friday. So you have like once every 2 weeks.
Where did you come up with this idea, Ms. Minty?
I was a writing center tutor in my college days, and I did an independent study in secondary school writing center theory, which sounds really nerdy, it was. My advisor was the president of the International Writing Centers Association, so I had the opportunity to go to the International Writing Center Association conferences throughout my undergrad years, and I knew I was going to be a middle or high school teacher, so I networked with the middle and high school writing center directors at those events. And then I've just been waiting for the opportunity when the structures were in place, and we had a situation where I could develop and launch a writing center, and with the SOAR structure that we have, that with the tweaks we made last year, and then TLC started talking about writing being a focus, so it seemed like the perfect time to make use of those changes in structure and the emphasis on writing. And we have fantastic students, so
Yes, that
I
helps.
would not do that without them. Yeah.
Well, it seems like an outstanding opportunity for each of you, but more importantly, an outstanding opportunity for those that you serve. And, you know, that is really important. And it's really refreshing to see leadership in this capacity and support in this capacity. So thank you for taking advantage of the opportunity and for sharing your skills with others. It's outstanding. Thank you.
Great job.
Thank you.
So wait, are we at the point yet for your questions?
Yeah, you can ask me.
Anybody have any questions specifically for Kevin? Who
Stole the show.
places do you take what you need?
So that's one thing that Doug and I as advisors, we had to talk with students to make sure that they continue to update. So if there is an empty envelope, that they have to replenish the envelope with more, take what you need.
Who is they?
The students that made from the
Okay.
National Junior Honor Society
Yeah,
who
okay.
made the bulletin board.
All right. And then one other, on the common proficiency scales for writing, I know we've talked in the past at curriculum committee about emphasis on phonics and grammar, but I don't see a lot of emphasis on this proficiency scale on those elements.
So they're not in here, but they have been infused. Like 7th grade has infused grammar aspects into their instruction as they've gone through. 6th and 8th grade has also done a thing where they're infusing as part of like mini lessons on specific grammar, and they focus on it on that part.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to make sure to the extent that we're putting programs, I think the great programs at the lower grades that we get our assessment capabilities to understand and appreciate whether we're gaining ground.
And that's been some of those half days that our ELA team has been part of. They've talked about those grammar pieces that they're infusing into their lessons.
Okay, good. Any other questions?
No, I assumed it was when it said carefully edited my writing, I assumed grammar was part of the
I would
editing.
imagine. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, then let's move on to Superintendent's Report.
Yes, so this week is the Grafton High School's winter play of You Can't Take It With You. So opening night is this Thursday through Sunday. So we'd love to invite you to come and support our fine arts students as they perform. Chili Day was last Sunday. It was the 50th anniversary of the event. Saw some of you at that event. It's now being run by our music and theater boosters. If you didn't get a chance to attend, I know that on their website, under our district website, you can still go online and donate through the PayPal. They have some of their various things that they are raising money towards at the various levels, and you can specify where you'd like your donation to go towards, or just go towards the general cause in that way. So that's something that we appreciate all of our parent volunteers and our students that were actively involved in Chili Day.
and getting to hear a lot of our kids on that day. And I have two proclamations for you. One is for School Bus Driver Recognition Week, and it's from Governor Evers. He says, whereas more than 15,000 school bus drivers in the state of Wisconsin travel more than 82 million miles a year and transporting more than 600,000 students to and from school every day. And whereas these drivers and the owners and operators of school buses have promoted and practiced the highest standards to assure the protection of their passengers. And whereas the Wisconsin School Bus Association works to encourage and promote safety in school bus transportation in Wisconsin. And whereas the Wisconsin School Bus Association, through its Board of Directors, pledges its full and dedicated cooperation with the Department of Transportation's Office of Transportation Safety, Division of Motor Vehicles, and the State Patrol, the State Advisory Council of Highway Safety, the Department of Public Instruction, schools, law enforcement agencies, parent-teacher associations, and other organizations in promoting public awareness of the importance of school bus transportation. Now, therefore, I, Tony Evers, Governor of the State of Wisconsin, do hereby proclaim February 10th through 14th, 2020 as School Bus Driver Recognition Week throughout the state of Wisconsin, and I commend this observance to all of our citizens. So last week, in recognition of this, Kara worked with Sweet Trio, and we had individual apples for each driver with their name on there, a note of thanks for each one of them. Took that over to Right Way. With the timing that they had in the morning, the afternoon, it was hard to meet with individual drivers, but to be able to have individually addressed apples for each one of them, thanking them for keeping our kids safe. I was able to talk to a number of them while I was over there, not all of them, but be able to thank them for that and observe them in a tangible way along with our thanks was greatly appreciated. So we did recognize them in that way. And the other proclamation that we have is National School Breakfast Week, which is coming up on March 2nd through 6th. And it says, whereas, for more than 30 years, the school breakfast program has contributed to the health and educational development of our state's children by making nutritious breakfast available in Wisconsin schools. And whereas the school breakfast program plays an important role in promoting healthy eating habits of children and combating childhood hunger. And whereas studies indicate that students who eat breakfast have improved mathematics grades and reading scores, enhanced classroom attentiveness, reduced absenteeism and tardy rates, fewer nurses visits, and improved psychosocial behaviors. And whereas school breakfast programs can significantly enhance the students' learning environment, allowing children to concentrate on graduating with the skills and knowledge they need to be successful in the workplace or with further studies, a primary goal of every child to graduate college and career ready. Therefore, be it resolved that I, Caroline Stanford Taylor, State Superintendent of Public Instruction, declare March 2nd through 6th, 2020, be proclaimed as National School Breakfast Week, a time to pay tribute to the many concerned individuals involved in this program, including state officials, school food and nutrition service professionals, school administrators, teachers, parents, local civic leaders, and many volunteers. So National School Breakfast Week is out of this world on March 2nd through 6th. And then also this week is National Public Schools Week. And so it is it's a week where across the nation, public schools stand together and recognize that out of all the institutions, we are one that educates students regardless of ability, race, wealth, language, religion, or country of origin. So it's a week set aside to pledge to strengthen the future of our country by supporting public schools. And then also this week, this Thursday is National Digital Learning Day. And so we are taking part in that this Thursday, where across the elementaries, students will be using Seesaw to record themselves and either post how they're record themselves and posting how they're a digital citizen, or use it in a different way and use some of those digital learning tools for learning at school. At the middle school, they're using either Adobe Spark, Google Drawing, Powtoon, WeVideo, and more to create creation that shares what makes each of them unique. And at the high school, they have 4 teachers that are offering a breakout EDU activity. It's almost like an escape room activity where they'll utilize that, and then they're going to have during their Black Hawk time on the 27th some different sessions offered for students to utilize some of our digital learning tools that we utilize in our daily use, as well as some extra pieces that they can learn on that day. So it's an exciting week for us, and we want to thank our staff that makes a difference for our students every day as we celebrate National Public Schools Week. Bless you. And then last but not least, some things that aren't on here. This past weekend we had some high school events that occurred. We want to recognize some of our student athletes for in boys swim. At state competition, we had seniors Ben Niswanger and Michael O'Connor. They finished their senior year. They both placed 3rd. Ben was 3rd in dive, and Michael was 3rd in the 50 free. So they medaled. And then junior Caden Starr finished with a 15th place in dive. And then for wrestling, Ellis Feiger, who is a senior, won the sectional title at 160 pounds, so he is our first 4-time state qualifier in wrestling history for Grafton. So he competes at state on Friday, leaves Thursday, and will be going there. He's going to Missouri to college to wrestle. And then competition cheer, placed 6th on Friday in sectional action, qualified for state on Saturday, and were awarded state runner-up in the super small division. So congratulations to them. And then boys basketball earned a 3rd seed in the WIA Boys Basketball Tournament Division 2. They will host a game on Friday, March 6th, and our girls will be hosting this Friday, February 28th. They have earned a 3 seed as well, and they host the winner of either Vincent or Plymouth on Friday, February 28th. And with that, that concludes the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Jeff. Any questions for Jeff? Nothing from me. Good, thank you. All right, let's turn to public comment. This is the portion of the meeting that somebody from the public would have comments on items that are not on the agenda. So if you have somebody can join us at the mic, that would be great. Just your name and...
Hi, my name is Barbie Cotton, and I'm a library aide at Woodview Elementary School. As you'll see on the agenda a little bit, there is an agenda item for a food sharing table, and I appreciate Topher reviewing my request and agreeing to recommend proceeding with non-perishables. I think this is a great first step. However, my goal this evening is to highlight why we need to include perishables, specifically for Donation to Family Promise, which is a nonprofit organization that helps homeless and low-income families and single women in Ozaki County achieve a sustainable independence. This will require a fraction of the effort of the non-perishable program based on the information that I've received from DPI. Yet the impact would be tenfold, and just to show you an example, this is the amount of perishable food they throw away, and this is 1 lunch period. And the perishable food that we throw away might be 10 items, but the non-perishable food is like, or the perishable food we throw away is like 100 items, the non-perishable is 10. And that's 1 lunch period out of 3 lunch periods that we have. There's no liability to the school because it's protected by the Bill Emerson Good Samaritan Food Donation Act. The perishable items can be kept in a refrigerator that I will buy if I need to leave in our lunchrooms. They could just be put right in the lunch, right from the kids taking them off of their trays and put it right in the refrigerator so there's no time that it's not going to that's out too long. Family Promise is willing to pick up these items whether it needs to be weekly, however often we need it to be done. Our own students are the ones that started this. We did not start this. I just work in the lunchroom, and you can see from this picture that when the students put their tray down, they just started putting their food that they didn't open on top. So the students made this effort without anybody doing it, and then what we have to do is take all that food that they've left out and throw it in the trash can right in front of them. And they're thinking, why am I putting this up there and you're just going to throw it away anyway? So there's not going to, if we have a refrigerator that's right in the lunchroom, it's not going to be a distraction of our duties for the people that are in the lunchroom. That's all we have to do is put it in the fridge. And lastly, and most importantly, because this came from the kids, I think the impact and the benefit to reach our Ozaki County families is incredible. So I think we need to work together to formalize and launch this program and acknowledge the voice of our young students and be a wonderful partner to our Ozaki County community. I appreciate your time and consideration. Thanks.
Thank you. We will have a discussion coming up shortly, so hope that you can stay.
Well, this is the thing that's going to be on the agenda.
It is on the agenda, item
Yeah.
E.
Because I think it's kind of a big deal.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Hi, my name's Amy Swenson. I'm here representing the Grafton Education Foundation. I'm just giving you guys an update on our current projects. We're currently preparing for the largest fundraiser of the year. So it used to be the Super Bowl in January, and now it's going to be a night of giving. And it's going to be on Saturday, April 18th at the River Room in Grafton. So kind of nice it's going back to Grafton because before it was in Cedarburg, so that makes a little more sense. Still doing like food, music, we're doing silent and live auction items, which they're in the process of getting and obtaining all that. The reverse raffle still, which the tickets can be bought at all the school offices and the district office. And new this year is the Golden Apple Award. I don't know if that was mentioned last time. We currently have 17 nominations in now for teachers and support staff, and that will be announced on April 8th at the U.S. Bank. But then formally, the winners will be announced at that night of giving. And let's see. And it's almost finalized, I think it's tomorrow, is that August 30th will be the Color Blast, which is another one of our big fundraisers, kind of before school and to kind of kick off the school year. So that is our updates from that. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Amy, for your time tonight and for your work on the GEF. Any questions? Okay, then let's move on to the personnel report.
Yes, we have some items that we've asked the board for approval, and then we have some informational items as well. For approval, we have Hayley Raditz, who is the physical education teacher at Grafton High School. We'd also ask that you accept the resignation of Justin Gum, physical education teacher at Grafton High School, and then also to approve the 2 retirements that we have, which we believe are final retirements for the year, of Chris Hanley, school counselor from Grafton High School, and Mike Pfeiffer, social studies teacher at John Long Middle School. We have informational hires. We've Mark Call, who's been hired as a special education aide at John Long Middle School, and the resignations of Valerie Hinkey, special ed aide at John Long Middle School, Steve Hershenson, special ed aide at Grafton High School, and Nicole Stewart, a library media aide at John Long Middle School. So we would ask for approval for the hire, the resignation, and for the 2 retirements.
Okay, so we'll take them in pieces. Do I have a motion to approve the new hire of Hayley Raditz, physical education teacher at Grafton High School?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, aye?
Aye.
Next, entertain a motion to accept the resignation of Justin Gum, physical education teacher at Grafton High School. Motion.
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, aye? Aye. And lastly, entertain a motion to accept the retirements of Christopher Hanley, school counselor at Grafton High School, and Michael Pfeiffer, social studies teacher at John Long Middle School.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion on those retirements? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion, aye? Aye. Of course, it passes with our regrets. And some wonderful service all around. Truly appreciate it.
And at our next board meeting, March 16th is our next board meeting. We will be having all of our retirees come. All of them except for one can make it. And so we've already confirmed with all of them. We'll have district apparel for them that Kara's already ordered for them. So we'll be able to have the board thank them for their years of service. We're going to take a group picture. That's going to be one of the things we're going to add into our community newsletter this year, which we haven't done in the past, is sort of communicate to our community then. So people who may have had those teachers in the past, and we'll be able to see them, and we can express our appreciation in our community newsletter as well. So we will have all of them, except for one, unfortunately, has a prior commitment that wasn't able to move it, back at our next board meeting to thank them.
All right. Thank you. Let's move on then to the food sharing table.
Yes, so as Barbie mentioned earlier, we had a concern about wasted food brought forward to administration. At administration team meetings in January as well as February. We took a look at the information, the guidance that DPI provides to look at our options and look at what we could do moving forward. After looking at the various options and requirements that would be required from things first, such as a no thank you table where food could be dumped off before it even went out into the lunchroom to be put back in the program, to sharing tables where other students could go to the table and take items that other students decided they didn't want, to donating food items to local food pantries. After looking at requirements of the various programs and options, administration is recommending that we create food sharing tables for non-perishable items. The food sharing tables require less administrative oversight, less diversion of staff from things such as assisting students, whether it's with lunch supervision or academic support. And then we wanted to stay away from the non-perishable piece because of the concerns of putting, say, milk or cheese or yogurt and making that available potentially to other students through a sharing table, being that that would be perishable. So that's the recommendation. I did reach out at my last SWASBO meeting. That's a group of southeastern Wisconsin business managers, to see if anyone else had implemented anything like this, sharing tables or such. No one has. So we would be, as far as I know, the only district that has moved forward to create and use this in a way that would try and reduce waste by creating this food sharing table.
Question? So
Yes.
you said non-perishable food item, which one, non or perishable?
Non-perishable
As far as
food items would be
kids
what we
sharing.
would move forward, right?
So just non, not the refrigerated?
Correct.
And can you tell, what is the liability that, I know that was, I was debating.
Sure, right. The concern would be that if it isn't handled properly and someone gets sick, then we are still liable in that way.
For sealed items like yogurt, no?
Well, for all items, if we were to have, that's why non-perishable items, that the risk that the district would be taking would be fairly minimal when you think about commercially packaged, prepackaged items that wouldn't go bad, such as goldfish crackers or the like. Whereas the situation where kids are taking milk that they've already been served, putting them on a table, that has a higher risk of something happening to someone getting sick from that.
And that's different, Topher, than what Barbie suggested, which was
Donated,
taking it somewhere.
right, donated to a food pantry, right. And that would require oversight in terms of logging items, doing the paperwork inventory, having an agreement with that group. And in discussions with the administrative team, we didn't want to add additional duties to staff currently who are right now supervising students as their primary duties.
Well, I'll have to tell you, Topher, I like, you know, we're moving in the right direction with, you know, with the non-perishables. But it seems to me, I think Barbie has made it very clear that any perishable items could be quickly refrigerated and it wouldn't be an issue, correct?
It can be donated and there's no liability to school. The
'Cause-
problem is if you donate it within the school, then there's a
It
liability.
seems like a shame to throw it away. Coincidentally, you know, my family, we own a food truck, right? So we kind of, you know, even with like raw meat, like the state of Wisconsin can, they don't require us to temperature control it up until 4 hours, which to me is like ludicrous. That's way longer than I would ever leave any raw meat out without temperature control. But if, you know, Barbie's gonna put it in a fridge, the kids are gonna dump it off on a thing and she's gonna put it in a fridge, what, 15 minutes, 10 minutes at the most? To me, it seems ludicrous that we're just gonna trash all this food.
It is a shame. I won't disagree with that. But then we do have to have that logged, right? We've got to take the time to log the food. We also have to set that up at Kennedy as well. I don't see that we're
I
going
think it would
to
be a
do this at one school. So that's why we're not recommending
I don't think logging
moving
it
to
would
that
be such a
donated
big
piece.
problem. I think, in my mind, I would rather have somebody log that we've put the milk in the refrigerator as opposed to somebody just throwing that milk in the trash. I mean, people are gonna use it. It doesn't go to waste, correct? Right.
That's the only, there's not a homeless shelter in Ozaukee County, so this is the only place that serves homeless people in our community. So these are people that have graduated from Grafton, might be people that go in there and get food, and it's something they can give them. The responsibility is on them once it leaves. The school's covered by an act. They're willing to sign whatever they need to sign. If you guys want them to sign something additional, I've already been in contact with them, so they're willing to do all that. And with the food sharing table, you still have to keep track of food. You have that right in your notes so that the tracking is still happening even if we're doing the sharing table.
So have we made an assessment as to what it might take procedurally and time-wise at each of the schools that would be participating in this?
Not down to the minute, but those were the discussions we had as a team, looking at what we would have to do if we move forward with that, and how we'd use current staff to fulfill the requirements necessary. And again, not wanting to divert, so we're not going to hire people necessary to do this, but to not necessarily divert people away from the primary job of taking care of our kids.
Yeah, and I would have no way of knowing how this is staffed and procedurally how this works, so it would be
Barbie seems
interesting.
to have a handle on it, right?
Well, the
I mean,
staff, I've been in the lunchroom, it would probably literally take us 2 minutes to write down, there's 6 milks, there's sips, there's 10 yogurts, there's 20 string cheese. How long would that take someone to write?
You know, the idea that if somebody's gonna sue us because somebody got a stick of cheese that wasn't refrigerated properly, I mean, that's, I mean, really,
They
seriously.
can't sue you.
That's not what. One second, for the donating part, you're saying donating to outside or not donating like to other kids like in the school? So this is
Well, the
the
first
law
option
we're
is to
talking.
donate to kids
Wait.
in the school, and then if the
For the
kids in the
sharing
school
table.
district don't use it, then it can go out to like family sharing or
Well,
to
if they
other
don't eat
groups.
their food, then they would put it to the.
Well, it goes to like classrooms where like some kids, like.
No, wait,
Can
is
you
that?
provide clarification?
It's not
Topher?
going to clarify,
Right,
it's
so-
not going to.
So
clarify.
right
Is that
now,
what we're talking about?
right now, if it's perishable, we have a choice of sharing it with other students,
We do. We
in
could-
which case there
Yes.
are more requirements and more liability.
Sure.
And we have an option to share it with outside agencies, in which case the law limits our liability. The Emerson Act limits our liability, right?
Yeah, sure.
And your recommendation right now is first to not do any perishable,
Correct.
is to do only non-perishable.
Right.
And I think
Internally.
internally.
Right. A food sharing
Internal.
table that would be just so we wouldn't have to log the items
Right.
that are
So,
put
so
there.
sharing this externally, the objection is not liability because that is mitigated by the Emerson Act, but it's record keeping.
Correct.
And
Resource.
process, how will we do this and how long will it take?
Barbie says 2 minutes.
And
How close is it? 2 minutes?
They just write down 6 minutes.
Oh, to get it
They just grab it, the kids put it on the table,
And where?
and they put it in the fridge.
to the
Once it's in the fridge, it
family
doesn't
promise.
matter.
It doesn't just magically appear.
Once it's temperature
They'll
controlled,
come get it.
doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
They'll come get it.
Once it's temperature, they can get it
No, I know
temperature
that.
controlled very
I'm
quickly.
establishing how it's getting there, not to the fridge.
Right. So it's easy to make generalizations when you observe and just say, this is how it would work. It's more difficult when you have to manage it and direct staff to do it. And to set up, I mean, it's 2 minutes for them to come and pick up. But if they come in at the time when we're not expecting, 2 minutes turns into 10 minutes or 15 minutes. So I guess what I'd like to see, we have an administrative recommendation to extend this to non-perishable items.
Right.
And to
At a
be
food sharing table.
at a food sharing table. And I'm hearing discussion of those that might want to go further,
Yes.
right? Okay, so what I would ask, if there's a motion to be made regarding the administrative recommendation, we can get that motion on the table, we can get it seconded, we can have discussion, and we can vote on that. Doesn't pass, then we can move on to next alternative.
Well, I would make a motion that it includes perishable items.
So there's an administrative recommendation to include only non-perishable items at a sharing table within the school.
Yes.
So do we have a motion to adopt the administrative recommendation?
So clarification first. If we do go down that path, it doesn't limit us from the future from making any changes, correct?
Correct.
Or it's
Correct.
expand.
This is, in looking at this, this would be the easiest to implement.
So, and then to follow up with that, so a lot of the discussion that we did have as administrative team, so during administrative team meetings, we gave time to this discussion twice to make, all the principals are there, directors are there, we're having this discussion. And so Barbie speaks of just buying a fridge and having a fridge in the cafeteria. where does it go in the cafeteria? Where does it go at Kennedy? What happens when that place is used by YMCA or, the Y, when it's used by the Y? There's a lot of different pieces that go together with this instead of just like, we put a fridge in the corner, we plug it in, it stays locked, it's no big deal, and it gets access to all those pieces. And so as we looked at staffing shortages, looking at the emphasis being on kids, we didn't feel comfortable at this point moving forward in that direction. So it was a large discussion, very good points on both sides. We understand that, does it seem wasteful? Is it silly that if a kid gets a lunch, they have to get all these different things, even if they don't want those things, and if they don't take something, they have to pay more? Yes, but those are guidelines that we can't control. So this was a step that we felt comfortable moving forward with, and so there's a lot of discussion with that. I would just interpose that with principals being in that mix as well.
Also another question, so what comes out of tonight, when would, what's the administrative recommendation, when would it be implemented?
Well, we'd have to, the key pieces would be developing the standard operating procedure. So there'd have to be written procedures for how this would occur. We'd have to have a staff member that was then appointed and in charge of that sharing table to make sure only the correct items went on the table. And then we would need to develop communication to all the parents who would then be have kids at the schools with these sharing tables if they were made aware. So that would occur over the coming weeks, certainly.
And if we go to the donating to the outside, you'd also have to go through the exact same process of, we have to notify parents that we would be donating to the outside?
That wouldn't necessarily, but we would have to work with the local health agency and have them certainly look into the procedures we're using. And then we would also need to have an agreement written up with the group we were donating to.
So I will make a motion to proceed forward with the administration recommendation with the caveat of that we would go through and we would get the policy set up this year in the process, and then that we would look then at the success that we have through now and the end of the school year to see if we could implement going forward into the next school year, possibly the next step of this.
So we have a motion to adopt the administrative recommendations subject to further exploration to expanding the program. I'll say a second. Is there any further discussion?
Yeah, I had some discussion on that. Just a question, I understand that we had a procedure in place, and then there was some complaints from parents, and this is why we're talking about it, right?
Not aware of having anything in
My
place.
understanding was that we had a, like, what was happening is the leftover food, instead of going into the trash can, was going to where it should be going, and there was a complaint from a parent who said, well, how do we know, like, is this being refrigerated properly, and it was brought to the attention. Am I misinformed, or is that?
That wasn't brought to administration's.
Okay, so this is like a new item for you guys?
Yes.
Okay. Anything else? Any further questions?
So the state mandates, the state mandate what every student who takes school lunch has to take?
Yes, there is a certain minimum amount of items. Part of the recommendations that are put forth is that food service make sure they're trained that kids can, I don't remember what the phrase is, but offer, it gets offered to them, but they don't have to take it. So if they need 3 of the 5 items to make a meal, that we make sure the kids understand you don't have to take all 5, but you can just take 3 if that's what you want. Again, that's an attempt to minimize the waste.
Well, I think also we have to consider the length of lunchtime and how long do the kids get to eat too. I think that could be a lot of why they're not eating all their food too.
And that's part of the process is to evaluate your lunch procedures, how that goes through, when are kids eating before or after recess. all those items are kind of part of the evaluation, recommended guidelines for implementing any of these options.
Did you talk to Chartwells at all? Have they?
Yes, I've talked to Chartwells.
Have they
about this.
experienced that? Yeah.
They did not bring up anyone that does this when we discussed these potential options.
Yeah, that might be something that I'm to maybe work with and see how it can be done.
Well, this wouldn't be
It
Chartwells.
wouldn't-
This is us. Now, we would have to work with them certainly, because this would have to become the operating procedures would have to become part of each building's food safety plan. And then we would also have to work with them to make sure they're implementing the OVS, offer versus serve piece, where kids understand they don't have to take everything to make a complete meal.
Any additional questions?
Jeff, and I cannot find it now, but there was somewhere in here as well as that we have to have a document policy for this. Do you know if Neola has? I don't. TLC.
But we are meeting with Richard next week, and we can definitely bring that up to see if there's a policy that Neola has worked with that would deal with that.
Anything else? So then to recap, we have a motion to adopt the administrative recommendation with instruction for administration to study the process and procedure to expand the program to include external donations to eligible local food banks or charitable organizations for future implementation. All those in favor of the motion, aye. Aye. Opposed? And it passes. So we will adopt the recommendation as outlined and ask that you study that process and procedure for expansion into the future and would accept the recommendation accordingly into the future at some point.
Okay.
Okay? Good? All right. Thank you. Let's move on to petition for detached territory.
All right, you have a petition to alter school district boundaries in front of you. You've had it in your packet. Chad Holland is here. He's been invited to speak to you. You have his letter, certainly, but also he has a chance to come up and address to you his reasons for the petition. That'll be followed. We'll give the administrative recommendation, and then you can certainly ask questions before taking any action.
Thank you for hearing this at all. I understand that you don't even have to bring this to the table, so I really appreciate you considering and hearing me out. We've moved forward with this petition for a couple of reasons. And the number one reason, the shortest answer, would be that we live in an odd block where just the southeast corner of the road belongs to Grafton. The entire north face of the road from Maple to I is Cedarburg School District, and then everyone to the west, which are a dozen kids, are all Cedarburg. There are 0 children going to Grafton schools on my road, yet there are 8 homes that are just roped into this Grafton School District. We all live in the town of Cedarburg. Everyone else goes to Cedarburg schools except for my kids. We open enrolled to Cedarburg, but that was because of family and programs that they have that you didn't have at the time, and still don't have. But we decided to move forward with the petition, right? And I know that this is it's been abundantly made clear to me that this is not something that's treaded lightly. It's a potential loss of income in the future and things like that. So I get the lack of revenue, but 0 of the 8 homes have children except for my house, which are currently attending Cedarburg. So I went forward with the petition, right? This exists, this program exists, this paperwork exists because it has to have worked or come up in the past, right? So we filled it out, and said, let's try it, even though everyone on both ends has said, pretty rare that these go through. But as I walked down the road and talked to my neighbors, I heard their stories about their kids and when they were kids in the awkward situation where they watched each other's buses go by. They played with them on the weekends and in the evenings, but they never went to the same schools. So in the spirit of community, we have a broken, split up community, and I think that overlooking it would just be continuing on the path of whenever they made these borders, and not fixing something that just makes sense. It's 8 homes that are directly across the street from students that they want to go to school with, they want to ride the same bus with, and we can't do that. And as open enroll, we can't do that. So I had to bring it to this point, to be heard out, because we are experiencing some personal discomforts, and that's okay. We bought the house, and you know, we'll have to live with whatever happens. But I wanted you to be aware that this isn't me just saying I prefer Cedarburg because I don't like the principal at the school. It's not like that. I have no preference to Grafton or Cedarburg schools. It really is the community. I mean, when 75% of your road goes to another school district, and just your tiny block from a creek to a road on one half of the street is districted on another district, it's kind of awkward, and it just feels like something that was overlooked, and maybe no one's taken this to this point. But I did speak with half of the people that live on that block, and most of them grew up there, and they said it was weird, and they signed, even though they're Grafton alumni. They signed it because they remember it being weird, they remember it being awkward for their kids, and we thought we'd try to do something about it. So thank you for hearing me out.
Thank you. And so, as I put in the memo, the administration is recommending that the board deny the petition, and some of the pieces I put in there as to why would be, and I had a very good discussion with Mr. Holland and his wife about this, and saying that the administration would be recommending that we deny the petition. And basically denying or detaching territory, of course, can have a downward effect on the number of students, your membership, if you will, in the district, and then that would result in reduced resources. And because we have fixed costs that we can't reduce even with declining enrollment, that causes us to have to stretch the available resources thinner and thinner. So the administration isn't going to recommend that we detach territory that could have a number of students in the future attending Grafton schools, and just a couple of years ago did have students that graduated from the high school in this group of properties. And basically, it's too bad that the information that was shared with the Holland wasn't the best. But we also, as administration, don't feel like the remedy would be that we would need to then detach the property and give it to another school district. Essentially, the concern is doing this would have a negative effect on Grafton students by causing the resources that they have to be stretched even thinner.
Can I say something again? So this is a talk about potential resources, right? And I know the 2 students that graduated Grafton just a couple of years ago. They're my neighbors. They have nothing but great things to say, but the resources, there really aren't any. These 8 homes, nobody is going to Grafton. So besides a small amount of tax dollars, there really isn't. But the problem isn't, I don't want it to be about me. I want you to think about the community. Imagine living across the street from a different school district and your kids wondering why they can't get on that bus. It's awkward. It's weird, and it's bigger. It's fixing a problem, it's not ignoring one. That's really what it's about. It's not about me.
I don't disagree with that thinking. We could also say the same thing about the other side of the street. Could be getting the same bus going here.
It would be similar to, if you're familiar with Bobolink, right?
Yeah.
The village of Grafton, and it's a neighborhood street. On the west side is Cedarburg School District, on the east side is Grafton School District. I'm sure those kids ride their bikes and hang out and talk, but they, even though they all live in the village of Grafton, they all live on the same street, they go to different districts.
And they live on that border. And it is weird.
Districts are...
I would say that we should grant this petition.
I would say that...
It's weird when, like, 2 houses down, those, you know, my kids play, well, they're older now, so they don't play anymore, but, you know, when they were younger, you know, my kids would play with these kids that are like 2, 3 houses down, and they're going to different schools.
So how about...
And it is weird.
I
don't
disagree with the different schools, but couldn't the Cedarburg district grant that other side to us?
Well, it seems like
Since we're on
what
this
he's,
school board, though.
what it seems like what he is saying is like the majority,
The other side is-
like, yep, like where I live, right? Like 2 houses down is Cedarburg, right? So I'm like right on the border, so the vast majority, everybody's going to the Cedarburg schools.
So-
It would seem weird to say like you should all go to Grafton schools, it would be more,
So let's get questions for information out before we begin debate, you know, the merits of one side or the other. Any questions regarding additional information that may be helpful?
I would love to see a map.
Do we have a map? That's a great
Do we have a
question.
map?
I had one.
The resources Topher would be this would be permanent.
Right, it would be a permanent solution to this.
So there might be nobody there now,
Correct.
but those are always going to be Cedarburg. Similar to that subdivision that was proposed.
Yes, the Colway
Did
property.
Cedarburg ever get back to us on that, by the way?
I don't know how they handled that situation, so I didn't hear how they resolved it, but they didn't end up having any development on there anyway. But yeah, these are properties that could have students, have had students attending Grafton in the past, and may have students attending in the future. And not having those students doesn't necessarily reduce our we can't reduce our costs by not having them, but not having them in the district would potentially reduce future resources for our students. And if you were to do this, I suppose if someone on Bobolink decided that that whole side of the street should be part of Cedarburg, or vice versa, then
They need
it would be the same
50% of the
situation.
signatures.
Rick, I'm confused because when we did the redistricting, the northernmost edge of the boundary is Cedar Sauk Road. There is a diagonal line that proceeds to the west that encompasses both the north and the south side of Pleasant Valley Road.
I'll have to dig up that map.
I mean, I have it right here.
You have it there?
That's-
Okay.
That is the northernmost boundary of what was Grafton Elementary School that now is, I'm not sure which district it falls in.
It
It
comes
seems
down-
to encompass both the northern and southern sides of the road in question. So I'm not sure I understand why those.
But it's Pleasant Valley Road from Maple to I.
Agreed. So
Okay.
there's a western boundary to our district, right?
Mhm.
Everything to the western side of that boundary is Cedarburg Schools. Everything to the eastern side of that boundary line is Grafton Schools. And obviously, there has to be a demarcation of a boundary. Whether it runs between a street or at the top side of the north side of that street, there will be a line.
Yeah, well, it comes down, it dips in for 8 homes, and then it goes to back down Maple.
That's not what that map shows. That map shows a contiguous boundary that is to the north bounded by Cedar Sauk and to the west by a diagonal line that goes down. So do we have the right boundary?
This would not show that.
Carve out?
The carve out, and it's similar, if you recall, the Colway, it was right on the border. In fact, the village called because they thought that was perhaps part of the Grafton School District.
So there is in
right?
fact a carve out.
It's north of, basically, if you take Colway and go north, there's a line that goes right all the way to the north.
Well, this looks like a broad stroke. That we don't have if the board would want to see that, we would have to get you a detailed map of all of our boundaries. So whether that's Northern Ozaki, whether that's Port Washington, Saukville, whether that's Cedarburg, whatever that may be, like all those pieces, because there is no clear cut, I go down 60 and I come down, I go down 60 and I go up and I come over and it's a square. No one has that. So if we're gonna say, there's gonna be pieces of other streets as well that will have some of those idiosyncrasies, and this is a drawing, but that's just a general map, I believe, that we used.
Okay.
If I recall, that our work for that was finding the internal boundary.
Yeah.
And Kara, correct me if I'm wrong, but there is a database that the county has, and if you actually go into that database, it's per property. So it's not a clear line. It's wherever the developer had built that house, and when they registered, I believe, that title, they would then mark on that deed what school district it was. So there are these anomalies all over the boundary. But correct me if I'm wrong, Kara, because you...
No, that's correct, because sometimes somebody will come in and if it's one of these border areas, we'll say we have to look on the county map, and then you look and it'll tell you which district it is. So I'm not sure which document that is. It might be when we were redistricting for Kennedy and Woodview.
That's right.
Yeah, I don't think we looked at all of the very small.
Yeah, because we use that to look at, because when I look at this, you have the numbers, because Rick was able to see if it's
dots.
blue, if it's red, how many people were in there. That's what we gave the board, the data that we currently had that sort of specified all those pieces. So at that point, when you had this, there was high school kids that were living on that block that were going to our district and didn't sign that petition this time, so.
So how many other conditions may exist throughout the district that are exactly like this? We don't know.
I don't know.
Any border.
Pardon?
I mean, could be any border.
Correct.
I mean, I went through this with the Little League, and it's like you redraw the lines, and it's awkward because somewhere there has to be a line.
Right.
And you're gonna have situations where people live across the street that go and they played in Cedarburg Little League versus Grafton Little League because that's how the line was drawn. Question, I mean, those 8 homes, you're the only one with the kids now, but there's a head count issue, but there's also just a general revenue issue, isn't there, if those 8 homes?
I would say no. That would be an issue of property taxes per se, but in terms of our revenue, which is based off of membership, how many resident kids, if we give up property to another district, then again, as I sort of stated, that the revenue that would be generated from those students would no longer come to us, it would go somewhere else, and it would make it harder to provide programming for our kids.
It would be permanent.
Correct.
Unless
If we
then
detach,
have to go through the same thing.
right, detachment would be a permanent
Right.
solution to this.
No, if we gave it up, we'd have to.
No, if we wanted it back, we'd have to.
Right, there'd have to be a petition to give it back, yeah.
I understand it's awkward and you don't want to give something up, but from the business end, I get your point, but I'm not here for business. I'm here because it makes sense for community forever. This is a community forever. So I'm trying to make it right change forever. And if the people on Bobolink don't like it, they can get 50% of the people to agree with them as well and bring that forward. Either way. But we're exercising our right for the better of our family. That dude can't go to 4K on a bus. He can't go to 4K at all on open enrollment. And we want to be with our friends and family in Cedarburg, and we want our neighbors across the street to ride the bus with our kids and get dropped off. So
one idea I would suggest is that you go to Cedarburg's board and ask them, as we do, that we allow our open enrollment families to pay money to ride the bus, and Cedarburg could allow that. They choose not to. So that's something that we do, that we brought forward from open enrolled parents who'd ask that at a current stop. They can pay that buy a seat program. That's something you could go back to them and do that.
we did do that.
That's their decision. So
And they ended it.
This board is.
Because they need permission from Grafton to drive, there's a state law that your bus can't cross another territory without that territory's rules. even though it does it anyway, because it drops kids off for Cedarburg schools far past my house to the east. But they won't drop it off because of my house being on that eighth of a mile section of road. They literally won't let my kids get dropped off when the neighbor across the street's kids get dropped off by the same bus.
All right, and that's, we don't drop off into the other district. We drop off at an existing stop, which if it's across the street in our district, then we go ahead and drop them off and they could cross the street.
Right. I'm just illustrating the idiocracy of 8 homes on a road versus every other home on both sides of the street being a different district.
Any additional questions or thoughts? But it doesn't reflect the boundary. Mark's looking at a map, but again, I don't know that it's precisely structured to individual homes. And it sounds like there are jogs and zigs and zags that may be specific to addresses. So, any thoughts? I've got some. My own concern would be, Mr. Holland, exactly to the condition that you cite, that in fact this condition could exist in many cases throughout the district. And I'm not sure that it would be prudent for us or for Cedarburg, for that matter, to begin entertaining petitions on a home-for-home basis, which is essentially what you're asking for now. And I understand that it's not for you personally, it's for the betterment of the community. Community in the sense of community for your family as it relates to community schools, or for other families similarly situated as yours. I can appreciate that. But without knowing how many other conditions like this might exist within the district, it would be hard to say, well, we should do this, because we could find ourselves faced with a petition next week, or next month, and the month after, and the month after, to change. I was about to say to correct these situations. I don't know whether they're corrections or just changes. I mean, you would like to think that it is a correction because it seems disjointed. I would like to think that whenever this got established, it was established for a reason. And it was well before my time. It's not a reason that I understand, but I certainly, before I would act on this, would like to understand how many other conditions like this might exist. You know, for that reason, my own opinion would be that we not honor this petition. I don't know if there's a time-sensitive nature to the petition.
It would have to be approved by March 1st.
And if it's not approved, can it be brought back?
It would have to come back the following year.
The following year. I mean, at a minimum, I guess I'm saying now, I would not be able to approve this without knowing how many other times this might come before us. I mean, how many times does a boundary zig and zag in a manner that might be at odds with the people on the wrong side of that zag?
But in the public sector, who's going to do that research? I mean, who's going to do that research on the homes that do zig and zag and the oddities and, you know, I mean, I understand you don't want to set a precedent today, but you're not setting a precedent for everybody, because everybody would need to have the required amount of signatures on their part of the street, which would be much more difficult in highly populated areas.
So my answer to that question is, who's going to do that? My off the top of my head answer would generally fall to the homeowner. At the end of the day, understanding the district that you're in is where that falls. And I think you would agree, you understood that your home falls within the Cedarburg School District. It would seem to me that in the end your beef is with the Cedarburg School District because you've been able to open enroll your other children, right? And right now there's a challenge, and I'm not sure I totally understand what the challenge is, but perhaps with work with Cedarburg School District you could overcome that challenge. So I would say the answer to your question
is not your concern at all.
Yeah, who would look into this? I'm not advising that administration look into it. I say as a general course that over my 18 years that this has never come before us in an individual circumstance like this. It would seem it's because individual home buyers make a determination, or where their home lies, and within which district falls into the decision that they make relative to purchase or not to purchase. I mean, that.
It could be that in 18 years you haven't seen it happen because people don't get the required amount of signatures. Or that whoever's sitting in your chair might be the one that's afraid to make a change for the betterment of whoever is putting the petition forward. I mean, it's a big change. It's a big decision, I get it. But this is an 8-house decision. It's not the end of the world, and it is the better thing commonsensically for the neighborhood, the community, the kids.
Which opens exposure to all other similar instances throughout the district.
You vote on every single one of them. You can deny those claims if you don't think they're as valid as this.
But there would be, in my opinion, it would be difficult to justify one over the other if they're one-off situations. And again, without knowing where those one-off situations may exist, it would be hard for me to move forward. Any additional questions? Okay, we have a petition before us. The administrative recommendation regarding the petition is to deny the detachment. Do I have a motion to support the administrative recommendation? Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion? No further discussion. All those in favor of the motion, aye. Aye. Opposed? And it passes. Thank you very much for your time and for presenting this opportunity to us. All right, let's move on to the facilities update.
Sarah, can you pass the clicker around? Maybe I could get out. I'll be playing the role of Jamie Schofield tonight. I've done this before.
Not that I don't like you, don't.
All right, so our facilities update, I'm going to start off with the district office remodel. Work has begun upstairs, as you know, to take that loft that's upstairs that we use for meetings and turn it into essentially the business office. We started with demo earlier this month, taking down some of the temporary walls that connect the two different spaces. And framing began. So this is the records retention framing that has gone in. We also have the HR office, which has been framed out, as well as the IT hallway. So you can see this long stretch of hallway down here, and then this stretch of hallway here as well. And you see the stairs are in fact there. We were concerned about the stairs being there. They are still there. In fact, this is from today. So those pictures I took earlier, those are from Friday. So they've already gotten quite a bit of the drywall done. That's the retention room, the records room on the left, and that is the IT office on the right. And I'm sure they've completed even more of that so far. We're on schedule to finish the DO remodel upstairs and move people upstairs in April, and then begin the downstairs remodel. With that, should be complete sometime in June. And we have the hots, yes?
And being up there, late last week, just the natural light comment that you made, that all those people are in the interior right now, and
Yes.
they have all the natural light. Really, really nice.
Yep, I will say it's my staff moving up there for the most part. And they are, I think, appreciative of all the light they're going to get versus the interior space they're in right now. We obviously are starting work on the Hawk's Nest. At this point, we've done some demo in that room right now. We've saved a lot of the material that was in there already. With the cabinets and the storage and some of the equipment, moved some of it to potentially reuse later, as well as made space available as Booster Club for some of their supplies nearby so they can continue to run concessions. That, the Hawk's Nest is set to be completed by June of this year. I will say, this wall right here, that's going to get demoed. And that'll occur over spring break when the kids are gone. And then that will be cordoned off, where work can then begin on the inside. And again, this is the part that's basically a cinder block wall that's getting demoed so we can put that nice glass storefront on there.
And this was a big part of the Grafton Educational Foundation's support as well. So this was their funded need last year, was the Hawk's Nest. So it's exciting to have a permit on the door and getting ready to tear out some of those pieces and get going with it.
Go back to your other demo picture.
The inside?
I remember there was an issue with that water.
Yeah, where the hole is punched in the wall?
Yep. Because Booster Club wanted to put in a more permanent water sink or something there.
It's all going away.
It's going away, so obviously it's getting capped or something.
Yep. Yep, that's why they put the hole so they could see some of those pieces, and they had the contractors come in and give bids and so forth, and working with the village on it and everything else. And Holden Brothers came in with a little bit, significantly lower, to help us with this project.
Is there abatement in there?
I don't believe there's any debate. Jamie hasn't mentioned it, so.
Okay.
Yep. Not pulling anything up on the floor, anything else either.
And then as far as our athletic facilities, we are out to bid on both phase one of the Enhancing Our Future project. That's the security fencing, entryway, alumni plaza, and some of the field events at the high school. That will be complete by August of 2020 in time for the fall sports season. And then we have the JV baseball field that is also out to bid, and that is expected to be ready for play by spring of 2021. Any questions on facilities?
You and I went back and forth on the existing baseball and softball, and it's really just time to get complete that. Material is all here. It's
Correct.
getting rid of the white stuff and.
Yep, so when the weather cooperates, they can get on. I believe the baseball varsity field is just putting that
The turf down.
I'm
talking to Kevin.
And then with softball, I believe there's a little bit of extra work and then putting the turf down. So it should turn around pretty quickly once the weather allows for that work to begin.
Still plan to play this season on those fields?
Yes.
One comment is that when you're leaving the district office and you're driving back towards the high school, you want to take a left, is there any way we can put a right-hand turn there?
Signage is one of the things that we have in the budget for all of our, for that whole campus. So, because if you come off of 60 and you turn right at that, before you get to the district office where you get to the sign, some people turn left and come down that way, which is also the wrong way. So there's signage that we're aware that we're working on, and all across that way we need signage for. Yes. Yes, the speed bump helps slow people down. The speed bump helps slow people down, but it doesn't help them understand the direction to turn. Yes.
Any additional questions for facilities update? If not, then let's move on to student overnight trip requests.
Yes, we have one student overnight trip request that we would ask the board to approve, which is for the Future Business Leaders of America, so FBLA, State Leadership Conference. And you can see that Sandy Giuliani and Lori Mathias are our chaperones for that. This will be their final FBLA conference that they'll be overseeing. I was just speaking with them on Friday, introduced me to their student teacher, and we're talking about the great group of students that they have going with them, as they do with, as other high schools do as well. They partner up with a different district that has a male chaperone. They serve as the female chaperone, so they can check in on the females, and the male chaperone will check on their males when they're there. But you can see it's March 30th and 31st all day, and it's a great opportunity for our students to compete in some different events, but also get involved in activities, workshops, and networking, and a great thing for our students to be able to be involved in. So we ask for the board to approve that request.
We have the motions to that effect.
Second.
Any discussion?
I should have said it's in Madison, if you didn't notice that, I'm sorry. I think it's at the Alliant Energy Center as well, is where I believe it is at, but it's in Madison, I should have said that.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion, aye. Aye. Opposed? And it passes. Thank you. Then I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you.